Our next speaker is Swami Vedananda, who will speak on a theme of Catholicity of Swami Vivekananda's message. Swami Vedananda is the Assistant Swami at the Vedanta Society of Northern California in San Francisco. As a student of UC Berkeley, he used to attend the lectures of Swami Ashokananda of the San Francisco Center, who was also the founder of this Berkeley Center and later became his disciple. Prior to his monastic life, Swami Vedananda earned a PhD in physics. He leads a discussion group at Stanford University for the study of Vedanta philosophy and Sanskrit knowledge.
So the subject is Catholicity in Swami Vivekananda's teachings. And Catholicity means that one recognizes the wide sweep of something, that nothing in this world is independent of anything else. The one connection, the one characteristic of this world is that everything is interconnected. And to recognize that interconnectedness and as a central principle of religion is one of the major messages of Swami Vivekananda. So, but the person who recognized it best and who seemed to have summarized Swami Vivekananda's teachings was Sister Vedanta. And her introduction to the complete works of Swami Vivekananda is one of the deep insights into the meaning of Swamiji's message and the role that he played in world thought. So I thought I would take a few examples from Sister Nivedita's introduction to bring out this idea of Catholicity of the message of Swami Vivekananda. So one of the quotes that she uses is from the address to the Parliament of Religions. If one religion be true, then all the others also must be true. Thus the Hindu faith is yours as much as mine. We Hindus do not merely tolerate, we unite ourselves with every religion. Praying in the mosque of the Mohammedan, worshipping before the fire of the Zoroastrian, kneeling to the cross of the Christians. We know that all religions alike, from the lowest fetishism to the highest absolutism, are but so many attempts of the human soul to grasp and realize the infinite. So we gather all these flowers and binding them together with a cord of love, make them into a wonderful bouquet of worship. You can hardly imagine any statement of Catholicity to be more universal and to be more deep and profound than this statement. And Sister Nivedita continues, to the heart of this speaker, that is Swamiji, none was foreign or alien. For him there existed only humanity and truth. Then Sister Nivedita goes on. Others stood beside the Swami Vivekananda on the same platform as he, as apostles of particular creeds and churches. But it was his glory that he came to preach a religion to which each of these was, in his own words, only a traveling, a coming up of different men and women through various conditions and circumstances to the same goal. He stood there, as he declared, to tell of one being, one reality, who had said of them all, not that one or another was true in this or that respect, or for this or that reason, but that all these are threaded upon me as pearls upon a string, which of course refers to the Bhagavad Gita verse. Whenever thou seest, or wherever thou seest, extraordinary holiness and extraordinary power, raising and purifying humanity, know thou that I am there. To the Hindu, says Vivekananda, man is not traveling from error to truth, but climbing up from truth to truth, from truth that is lower to truth that is higher. Then Swami Vivekananda goes on. Sister Nivedita's comment, to him all that is true is Veda. By the Vedas, he says, no books are meant. They mean the accumulated treasure of spiritual laws discovered by different persons in different times. Then Sister Nivedita goes on to comment, yet would not this inclusion of all, this freedom of each, be the glory of Hinduism that it is, were it not for her supreme call of sweetest promise? Hear, ye children of immortal bliss, even ye that dwell in higher spheres, for I have found that ancient one who is beyond all darkness, all delusion, and knowing him, ye shall be saved from death. Here is the word for the sake of which all the rest exists and has existed. Here is the crowning realization into which all others are resolvable. When in Swami Vivekananda's lecture, The Work Before Us, the Swami adjures all to aid him in the building of a temple wherein every worshipper in the land can worship. A temple whose shrine shall contain only the word Om. On hearing this, there are some of us who catch in the utterance the glimpse of a still greater temple, India herself, the motherland, as she already exists, and see the paths not of the Indian churches alone, but of all humanity converging there at the foot of that sacred place wherein is set the symbol that is no symbol, the name that is beyond all sound. It is to this and not away from it that all the paths of all the worships and all the religious systems lead. India is at one with the most Puritan faiths in the world in her declaration that progress is from seen to unseen, from the many to the one, from the low to the high, from the form to the formless, and never in the reverse direction. She differs only in having a word of sympathy and promise for every sincere conviction, wherever and whatever it may be, as constituting a step in the great ascent. Swami Vivekananda goes on, or Sister Nivedita goes on to say, it is not the many and the one. No, if the many and the one be indeed the same reality, then it is not all modes of worship alone, but equally all modes of work, all modes of struggle, all modes of creation, which are paths of realization. No distinction henceforth between sacred and secular. To labor is to pray. To conquer is to renounce. Life itself is religion. To have and to hold is as stern a trust as to quit and to avoid. This is the realization which makes Vivekananda the great preacher of karma, not as divorced from, but as expressing jnana and bhakti. To him, the workshop, the study, the farmyard, and the field are as true and fit scenes for the meeting of God with man as the cell of the monk and the door of the temple. To him, there is no difference between service of man and worship of God, between manliness and faith, between true righteousness and spirituality. All his words, from one point of view, read as a commentary upon this central conviction. Art, science, and religion, he said once, are but three different ways of expressing a single truth. But in order to understand this, we must have the theory of Advaita.
On this 4th of July, Subhadra will now recite the poem To the 4th of July, composed by Swami Vivekananda in Kashmir. Subhadra got her initiation in 1970 at Hollywood from Swami Prabhavananda, who was a disciple of Swami Brahmananda. From then on, Carol Cohn became Subhadra, name of Sri Krishna's sister. Subhadra says she was a student at UC Berkeley and lived in the dorms next to this center. Every day she walked by the temple and saw the notice board, but didn't ever enter it. One day, one word churned her memory, which she always felt that she heard before, but couldn't figure out when and where. That word was Vedanta, which Subhadra says ultimately changed her life, thought, and destination.
I'd like to take you back over 120 years to 1898, 4 years to the day before Vivekananda had his Mahasamadhi. And this is the poem he read. Behold, the dark clouds melt away that gathered thick at night and hung so like a gloom pall above the earth. Before thy magic touch, the world awakens. The birds in chorus sing, the flowers raise their star-like crown, dewy set, and wave thee welcome fair. The lakes are opening wide in love, their 100,000 lotus eyes to welcome thee with all their depth. All hail to thee, thou Lord of light, a welcome new to thee today. O sun, today thou sheddest liberty. Bethink thee how the world did wait and search for thee through time and clime. Some gave up home and love of friends and went in quest of thee, self-banished, through dreary oceans, through primeval forests, every step a struggle for their life or death. Then came the day when the work bore fruit, and worship, love, and sacrifice, fulfilled, accepted, and complete. Then thou, propitious, rose to shed the light of freedom on mankind. Move on, O Lord, in the resistanceless path, till by high noon o'erspread the world, till every land reflects thy light, till men and women with uplifted heads behold their shackles broken and know in springing joy their life renewed. Last year when I spoke, I asked for this peace, this freedom to return to us. And now I would like to leave with a quote from John F. Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States. If we cannot end our differences, at least we can make the world safe for diversity. Thank you very much.
Now I request our next speaker, Swami Tattva Mayananda, to present on the theme for this spiritual retreat. Swami Tattvamayananda is the minister of the Vedanta Society of Northern California in San Francisco. He underwent traditional training in Hindu scriptures, Sanskrit, Vedic and Vedantic literature for many years from early days. Before coming to the United States in 2012, he was teaching Sanskrit, Vedantic scriptures and Indian philosophy at the training center in Belur Mutt. Apart from his traditional education, the Swami has also received modern university education in English literature, psychology, European history, and Western philosophy.
Yonta pravishya mama vachimimam prasuptam sanjeevayedi akhila shakti dharaswadhamna anyamscha hasta charana sravanattugadin pranan namo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam namasri dirajaya vivekananda suri satchit sukha swamini tapaharini. My pranams to the senior Swamijis and namaskar to the junior monks and the devotees and well-wishers who have assembled here. So this topic is very interesting, Catholicity in Vivekananda's message. I would rather have the term turned into Swamiji's universalism. Seems to be a more appropriate term than Catholicity, which is a closer historical and theological connection with the Christian theology, especially the Catholic religious tradition. So maybe it may be more appropriate to discuss what I would like to call the universalism in Vivekananda. Now, coming to this subject, universalism in Indian spiritual and philosophical culture, you have to go all the way back to the Vedas. In fact, the first, historically speaking, the first statement of cultural, spiritual, and philosophical universalism appears in the Rigveda Samhita, the first mandala of the 164th Suktam is called Indram Mitram Varunam Agnirahu Adho Divyasa Suparno Garutman Ekam Satviprabha Gudhavadandi Agniyamam Matarishwanamahu. Different gods and goddesses, cultures and traditions, views and approaches, they are all different expressions that eventually attempt to divine the same truth, Ekam Sat, one single truth. In fact, that is in a way the cornerstone of universalism and Catholicity in spirituality, in culture, tradition, and in values. Now, again, this idea can be found strongly expressed in the Upanishads, and especially in the Bhagavad Gita, which Swamiji in his Chicago lecture emphasized. Swamiji said, Ye yathamam prapadyante tadhaiva bhajamekam mama varma anuvartande manushyaha partha sarvashaka. Swamiji gives a literal translation of this very important and interesting verse from the Bhagavad Gita, which again the next most important document of universalism. The idea that my religion is not only true religion, your religion is wrong because it's different from mine. If A is one, B need not be wrong. B may be another way to express what A tries to express. If you are different from me, it doesn't mean that you are wrong, but you are approaching the same topic, subject from a different angle. Swamiji gives a literal translation of this in his first Chicago address. In the second paragraph of the first Chicago address, Swamiji talks about the impact of this universalism and Catholicity on Indian history. For example, Swamiji refers to the first diaspora, the migration of the Jews, historically speaking. The first time the Jews migrated to India, to the southwest corner of India in 400 BC, and again in 71 AD when Masada collapsed under the onslaught of the Roman Empire. The 10 legions destroyed Masada. And again Swamiji refers to the first migration of the Christians in the 1st century AD, and again the migration of the Parsis in 7th century AD. and also the Jews, Christians, Muslims. The second oldest Muslim masjid in the world exists in India. I don't know how many of you are aware of this. A temple was given over to the Islamic community in 6th century AD, almost 25 years after the passing of the Prophet Muhammad. Hinduism granted a temple, and that temple was converted into a masjid, a Juma masjid. You can still find almost 30 kilometers away from where the second oldest Jewish synagogue stands in the southwest part of India, this Kerala. Again, Christians, the Syriac Christians. This is the Catholicity of Hinduism. Now, this was expressed in so many different ways. If you look at the Indian history, its evolution in cultural and spiritual and philosophical traditions, there are 3 key points. The first, Buddha in 6th century BC, then Shankaracharya in 8th century AD, then Vivekananda, and of course Sri Ramakrishna, because whatever Swami Vivekananda spoke, taught and preached all came from Sri Ramakrishna. So Swamiji cannot really stand without Sri Ramakrishna. So Sri Ramakrishna Vivekananda phenomenon came in 19th century, Shankaracharya came in 8th century, and Buddha in 6th century. 24 centuries of India's spiritual evolution, cultural evolution, philosophical evolution is the story of universalism in action, beginning with Rigveda Samhita. Now, what did Shankaracharya did? In fact, the first historical effort to universalize, to harmonize, to synthesize, to unify India's cultural, religious, and spiritual tradition took place in 8th century AD. Shankaracharya actually harmonized all the gods and goddesses that are mentioned in the Rigveda Samhita: Indra, Mitra, Varuna, Agni, Dyava, Prithivi, Soma, Surya, and so on. All these gods and goddesses were harmonized and universalized by Shankaracharya when he established what is called Panchadevata Puja and Shanmata Sthavana. I mean, Adityam Bigam Vishnum Gananadham Maheshwaram Panjayajna Paro Nityam Grihastha Panchapujiyet. In India, if you find Indian homes, if you find Hindus, traditional Hindus, householders, when they practice puja every day in the morning to Krishna, where ISKCON in West Bengal, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in West Bengal, Shaiva in Kashmir Shaivism, Southern Shaivism, and then Kaumara, the worship of Subramanya, Kumara, Kartikeya, and Divine Mother, Kali worship. And of course, Surya worship has become almost extinct. Panchadevata Puja. This is the first attempt to universalize. So, today if you find, in India, you find the highest Advaita. And the person who teaches and preaches the highest Advaita also practices puja every day in his home. There is no contradiction. You can practice the highest spiritual idealism. You can also practice the most ordinary devotional practice. Shankaracharya makes the statement, Maisha Ninne Yogena Bhaktihi Avibijarini Vivikta Desha Savitum Anabhirjana Samsati. In the Bhashya, they see 13th verse, the 10th to 11th verse in the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. The highest devotion and highest philosophy are the same. The theme of discussion in this particular verse is, what is Avibijarani Bhakti? The unwavering, the pure devotion, the highest devotion. Na vibhicharana shila avibijarini Suddha, Nirmala, Sachajnanam, Shankaracharya. See, the highest devotion, that's the highest Advaitic experience. This again universalization, harmonization of Dvaita and Advaita in one single platform you can find here. Then after Shankaracharya, of course, there was a long dialectical warfare between Dvaidins like Vadiraja, Jayatirtha, Vyasatirtha and others, and the Advaidins. Then in 16th century you find Madhusudana Saraswati comes, and he, on the one hand, he wrote what may be called the greatest dialectical work during the post-Shankarite times, Advaita Siddhi, and also his own commentary on the Bhagavad Gita following the footsteps of Shankaracharya, Gurartha Deepika, where he synthesized Bhakti and Jnanam into one. I mean, actually, he was renovating, bringing back the great devotional philosophy that is enshrined in Shankaracharya's commentaries, which is forgotten during the dialectical warfare between the Dvaitins and Advaitins, which was again reconstructed by Madhusudana Saraswati in the 16th century. Then came the 19th century. Swamiji and Sri Ramakrishna came. Swamiji brought actually a new concept. It was a paradigm change. After Shankaracharya, the next important paradigm change happens when Sri Ramakrishna and Swamiji came together in 19th century. You know, the need of 8th century was different from the need of 19th century. In 19th century, Swamiji brought Vedanta out of India's own cultural and geographical and maybe theological restraints and brought it outside India and made it a universal philosophy. And Swamiji made it, on the one hand, universal Vedanta, on the other hand, he gave it a practical dimension, practical Vedanta. So, you can find in Swami Vivekananda this concept of harmony and synthesis of the East and West. Science and technology on the one hand, religion and spirituality on the other. You can be spiritual even when you are sitting in your office in the Bay Area. You're working for Intel, you're working for, if you're teaching in a university, if you're a doctor treating patients in the hospital, you can practice Vedanta. In your surgery room, you can do. In your office place, you can practice Vedanta. So Swamiji revolutionized Vedanta by giving it a practical dimension. On the one hand, he made the universal religion. On the other hand, he brought it down to earth. And Swamiji says one can practice Vedanta wherever you live, whatever you do. This spiritualization of the secular, I think that is perhaps the greatest contribution of Vivekananda. In fact, in Vivekananda, there's always the dividing line between the secular and spiritual. Of course, in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna may be the greatest synthesizer of all times. He had already synthesized everything, but then those ideas which he taught in 3000 BC, the 3rd millennium BC, were somehow forgotten during the time of the superiority, of the domination of the Mimamsakas, and again Buddhism. So that idea of synthesis and harmony of the secular and spiritual, that was the greatest contribution of Vivekananda. You can be scientist, you can also be a rishi. You can work in your office, still you can practice religion in your office. So religion is not something that we practice just in the morning and evening and then forget for the rest of your daytime, your life, your daily activities. Religion is something that you practice every day, every moment. And religion becomes a reality when every act becomes an act of worship, every word becomes a sacred mantra, and every thought becomes a meditation. That is how religion actually becomes practical. That is Swamiji's unique contribution. Again, Swamiji brought India's spiritual religious tradition. He brought it out of the stranglehold of what we call Varnasrama Dharma. Religion and spirituality can be practiced by anyone. Can you imagine something like this happening before Vivekananda? A man like Paul Brendan, a journalist, British journalist, who had migrated to the United States, sitting somewhere in a desolate apartment in New York, reading something about Ramana Maharshi, taking a ship to going to India, and go to Ramanasama. That's the beginning of a new life for him. Now, today if you go to India, not only in the Ramakrishna Mission Ashramas or ISKCON elsewhere, in the Divine Life Society, Sadhana Sadan, all over India, Indian subcontinent, especially the Himalayan regions, you find these Americans mostly, long beards, long hair, sometimes twisted in a very outlandish style of dress code and hairstyle, with the long vibhutis, sandal paste, rudraksha, wandering all over the place. You know what they are looking for? They are looking for Vedanta. They are looking for Advaita. If you teach them the old Catholic religion, where God sits above the clouds, staring at you, supervising your action, and promising heaven for those who totally agree with his interpretation of religion and spirituality, and threatening with hellfire those who disagree with him. That kind of religion has no place in modern times. And in 19th century, so when Swami Vivekananda actually brought Vedanta into focus, it was a very interesting time, America had already made enough preparations to listen to Vivekananda. Emerson, who got a copy, a very inaccurate translation of the Bhagavad Gita, which was gifted to him by Carlyle, a British socio-critic. And he started writing articles in journal, the Concord movement, and then his own successors, Thoreau and Whitman, in the Leaf of Grass, and also in the Walden. You find in the Walden some of the very wonderful statements and observations about the intricacies of Karma Yoga, which today you find the writings of many misguided Indians who learn Vedanta only through English translations without studying Sanskrit language. So if you read Emerson's writings, if you read Thoreau's writings, Walden you find, for example, Thoreau says, Karma Yoga is not insensitivity or inaction. Karma Yoga means building up our own life, making use of our own skills by doing things, whatever we do in everyday life, with a sense of detachment, but not inactivity. You can find, even today you find, in the writings of many Indians who have not studied Sanskrit, who study Vedanta only through translations, most misguiding misrepresentations of Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga made India inactive, weak and insensitive. Swamiji actually hammers on this particular dispensation of Neo-Vedantins who misinterpreted Vedanta even in 19th century. Swamiji, he criticizes the new graduates coming out of the three presidency institutions of Calcutta, Bombay and Madras. Even in his Colombo to Almora lecture, Swamiji refers to them. So when Swamiji came, America was ready. And America fully understood Swamiji's messages. And then unfortunately, you have this, the First World War, depression, which completely overturned which actually strangled the evolution of America's Vedantic evolution, so to speak. And in modern times, you can see, if you read Vivekananda's books, you can find this wonderful universalization, which doesn't recognize the boundaries of language, culture, nationality, or anything. Whatever language you speak, whatever religion you are born into, even if you don't accept any religion, you can be a Vedantin. So one statement from Vivekananda is maybe a panacea, it may almost like a nectar for the ears of many of the modern agnostics and atheists. He says, you live your life in such a way that God accepts you even if you don't accept Him. Now, where do you find this kind of universalization? Universalization. So this time, we had to listen to Vivekananda, recapture his spirit, the idea that wherever you are born, whatever language you speak, we are all actually heading towards the same spiritual destiny. Swamiji outlined this important point in his first Chicago address. And this is one of the running themes that you find throughout Swamiji's life, his teachings, his preachings, and especially in the volumes of complete works. And Sister Niveda also emphasizes this point. I'm very happy that I got a chance to discuss this very important point. Vivekananda doesn't belong to India alone, and America has certainly every right to be proud of the place and the platform where Vivekananda got a chance to declare this universal message to the entire world. Thank you. Namaskar.
Let's hear some sitar music from Nartan Patel. Nartan is an engineer by profession and has received her sitar training under the guidance of Vidushi Manju Mehta. She'll play Ra Kirwani Ala, Trutga Tanzala in Teen Tal.
Namaskar. With blessings of my gurus and Swamiji, I आज्ञा लेती हूँ आपके समक्ष राग किनवानी I will present. I will start with small alap, followed by drutgat in teen tal, and little bit higher speed on adigat is also in teen tal, and followed by jalas. Thank you. Blessings. सुनाई दे रहा है तबला ये स्लो ठीक है
some really melodious music. I welcome our next speaker, Swami Isha Dhyanananda, to speak on the theme of this retreat. Swamiji is the Assistant Minister of the Vedanta Society of Sacramento since 2017. He joined the Ramakrishna Order in 2002. He was initiated by revered Swami Atmasthananandaji, the 15th President of the Ramakrishna Order, and he received his final monastic vows in 2012. Swami Isha Dhyanananda has contributed articles to various journals of the Ramakrishna Order. Apart from Ramakrishna Vedanta literature, the Swami has a keen interest in philosophy, positive psychology, neuroscience, and current ideas that shape the world.
Revered Swamijis, dear friends, I feel guilty that I am standing in between you and a delicious lunch. But I will not take much time. I will be over within my allotted time. The wonderful subject, Catholicity of Swami Vivekananda's message, and we are appreciating the universality of Swami Vivekananda's message, which is very important for all of us. Also important, according to me, is to know what made Swami Vivekananda so universal, so that we also can incorporate those factors into our life so that we can also broaden our horizon. Maybe we may not be as universal as Swami Vivekananda, but still we can take a few steps towards being more universal. So what are the three factors, according to me, that made Swami Vivekananda so universal, not only in religion, but also Swami Vivekananda's broad scope of ideas about science, economics, sociology, social service, what not, from student, from professor, everybody can relate to Swami Vivekananda. What made Swami Vivekananda so universal? According to me, there are three words, three E's, which are the watchword for Swami Vivekananda's universality. Three E's. First is his eclectic education. Thanks to his liberal parents, Swami Vivekananda from very early childhood was exposed to a very eclectic education. He, in his very childhood, read all the standard works in Bengali literature, English literature, and Sanskrit literature. Then, from his mom, he learned the Ramayana and Mahabharata, all the stories. He had immense interest in Western philosophy and read the standard books of Western philosophy and logic, world history, psychology. And more than the books that are recommended in the syllabi, he read books available, whatever was available to him, he used to read them. Books, newspapers, then he used to attend all the public lectures, used to take part in debate. Then his exposure or interest in sports and athletics. He was good, adept in swimming. He was in the wrestling club, adept in wrestling, cricket, pony riding. Then, in music, he was an adept singer, as well as he also could play musical instruments like pakhavaj, tabla, the drummed instruments, also as well as the stringed instrument like esraj. So, by the time he reached his youth, he was already a very broad person. A very broad person. As liberal, as broad as we can imagine. Even more than that. Add to that his sincere yearning for spirituality that led him to Brahma Samaj. Brahma Samaj, that group who believed in formless God, but with attributes. And Swami Vivekananda became a member of Brahma Samaj. And that was his view of religion. And when he came to Sri Ramakrishna, that was the view about religion he had. So eclectic education was not enough. He needed something more from Sri Ramakrishna. That is second E of our equation, finding out the essentials of religion. Sri Ramakrishna, through his life and loving guidance, showed Swami Vivekananda how to get the essentials of religion. Imagine, same Swami Vivekananda criticizing idol worship, scolding would-be Swami Brahmananda for going to Kali temple, criticizing Sri Ramakrishna's Kali worship. He could not take these things. And he learns from Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna teaches Swami Vivekananda that not everybody is of same temperament. Rakhal, Swami Brahmananda, needs God with form. You may not need it, but try to understand that everybody's requirement is not same. So why are you scolding Swami Brahmananda, Rakhal? Try to understand this. Second, he said that these forms, idols, images is representation of that same infinite that everybody is trying to reach. You may not like it, but try to get the essence from it that some may need this representation. Fast forward, this same Swami Vivekananda, talking with the king of Alwar, who questions the validity of idol worship. He tells Swami Vivekananda, I cannot worship wood, stone, metal. I cannot. We know the story, the famous story. Swami Vivekananda calls the manager whose picture it is. It is the king's picture in the parlor. Bring it. Can you spit on it? The manager says, what are you talking about? He says, this picture is not king. Then why are you afraid to spit on it? In the same way, nobody worships the wood, the stone, the image. The stone, the image, wood, our idol, a representation of an ideal. Nobody is praised to, oh wood, grant me liberation. Oh stone, grant me liberation. These are means to reach that. Same Swami Vivekananda, who was against idolism, is now a champion of idol worship. Same Vivekananda who fought Sri Ramakrishna for going to Kali. Later on, throughout his life, he says, Kali worship is my special fad. I cannot but believe that in the universe, there is a power who thinks herself as feminine, who is Mother Kali. Same Swami Vivekananda started Durga Puja, Kali Puja in Belur Math. Same Swami Vivekananda, 4th July 1902, in the morning, goes to the shrine, closes the doors and windows, and for 3 hours worship who knows whom. But when he opens the doors and windows, everybody hears him singing Mother Kali Kirtan, song for mother. It appears to many that on the last day of his life, he worshipped Mother Kali. The same Swami Vivekananda. And same Swami Vivekananda again, who is a champion of non-dualism. When he first came to Sri Ramakrishna, he said, this is preposterous to think of non-dualism. I am God, you are God, this pot is God. What can be more ridiculous than this? Sri Ramakrishna used to tell him, read Ashtavakra Samhita, one of the greatest texts on non-dual Vedanta. Swami Vivekananda revolted. This is tantamount to atheism. I am God, you are God, can it be possible? Sri Ramakrishna teaches him that look, there are infinite ways of connecting with the God. Try to get the essence. Try to get the essence. This is the essence that through every path, every faith tradition, every human soul is yearning to meet with the infinite. This Swami Vivekananda learned from the loving guidance of Sri Ramakrishna and also through watching, observing Sri Ramakrishna's life. That is why 1894, Greenacre in Maine, we see Greenacre Religious Conference, which is one of the most diverse religious gathering that we can imagine of. A motley crowd of people from Jewish tradition, Unitarian, Theosophy, Swedenborgian, faith healer, spirit controller, Christian scientist, and some who have not even tangential connection with religion, all of them gathered in Greenacre. And Swami Vivekananda there was very comfortable with all types of religions, all types of human yearning. And he says how pure they are. Yes, some of them are freakish, but look at their purity in the heart. All of them yearning for the same spiritual experience. An observer comes to these Greenacre meetings and he says, what a wonderful sight. It was published that day in the evening newspaper. Someone is reporting about Greenacre, a Hindu monk preaching the greatness of Muhammad to a Christian audience. Swami Vivekananda. Where did he get it from? From Sri Ramakrishna. What is the message? Try to get into the essence of religion. Not only in religion. This he applied in every endeavor, every field. Try to get at the essence. Because unity can be found in the essence. All the differences are in the forms. Those who cannot distinguish between essential and non-essential, they will be at the loggerhead with each other. So try to get at the essence. So two things. One is his eclectic education. Second, his this knowing, try to get the essence of religion, or broadly try to get at the essence of the things, essence of the ideas. Third, these two were not enough. The third factor, which I think is what all of us can aspire for, I would call it educability. Educability, capacity to learn. Capacity to learn every day. In Silicon Valley, it is called coachability, right? Coachability. And it is one of the criteria for many of the good firms, whether the person is coachable, whether the person can take feedback, whether the person seeks feedback and can improve from feedback. This is the most important skill for all of us. Are we ready to learn every day? Josephine MacLeod says that I was a worshipper of novelty. I liked new places, new ideas, new people, but only one person, Swami Vivekananda, I got stuck because I found every day Swami Vivekananda is a new person, a fresh person. Why? Because Josephine MacLeod says Swami Vivekananda's religion was learn every day. Learn every day. And that's how he could keep himself fresh new every day. This educability, coachability, Swami Vivekananda had all through his life. So that's why, for example, when he came to this country, his main goal was to raise funds for India, and also clear the misconceptions that people have about India. So that's why we see from Chicago to September 1893, since Chicago Parliament, to the summer of 1894, Swami Vivekananda worked in that direction. But he learned in Greenacre that that idea is not going to work. From Greenacre, he got the idea that my method of work now one should be to teach to a handful of sincere students. They will carry the work. That should be my new focus. To choose group of students and teach them for quite some time some important spiritual texts or general spiritual talks. He immediately changed. How? Because he took the feedback. He was broad enough, and rather, I would say, intellectually humble enough. No, not to getting too stuck, too fixated with fixed ideas. And so he could learn from the feedback, he could improve upon it. That made him universal. I believe that if we try to follow these three things, try to have an exposure to ideas as broad as possible, which I would call eclectic education. Number two, trying to get the essentials of the things, essentials of each faith tradition, essential of any idea that is shaping our world today. Try to get it the essence. Thirdly, this intellectual humility to learn every day and keep open to the possibility that we can improve every day. And how? Seek feedback and learn from the feedback. That will make us more universal. That will help us to broaden our horizon, and that will also make Swami Vivekananda happy. Thank you.